Rolling. I'm glad to see many people come back, so that's the good news. So today, welcome back, guys. So we're going to keep moving so that we can get to the talk and then the rest of the day. So my goal is to be the chief impediment remover. Yesterday, somebody asked me for crocin and I forgot. I'm sorry, whoever asked me. I got the crocin, but then I didn't know who asked me. So if you need something today, I'll be happy to give that crocin. I still have it with me. So what is our goal for today, right? So yesterday when you guys left, there was a indication that it was a reasonably good day and we had fun. So today is a Saturday, and I know we want to have you at the maximum thinking throughout the day. So what I thought is we'll spend a few minutes. I want to talk to you about the agenda. So if you have the agenda with you, because I can help you decide where you want to go. Some people like to bounce back between sessions. There's only 2 rooms, so literally there's not much to bounce back, but there's 1 session upstairs. But knowing some context will help you. And so if there are any speakers of the day already in the room, it'll be great if you can step up, please. Anyone who's going to speak can come here. That way I don't have to speak for you. You can say what you're going to do. We're going to do a daily stand-up style or a daily, like a quick, what are you going to do? So I'm going to sort of run through from top to here, and whenever those people come, we'll hand it over to them. So this morning, 9:30 is Jim's keynote, and I'm going to let him talk through what he's going to do, and he looks much brighter than he did at 7 p.m. yesterday. So I'm glad he's back here, and thanks to Tony. I know she's here somewhere. She's in the back. And they are open to any kind of table conversations, and you want to do with them, so feel free. And she also said, so if someone yesterday thought there needs to be more lean thinking, you can absolutely catch them, me, on any topics you want to do. So then the 10:30, we'll have a tea break at 10:15 to 10:30. I highly want it to be clock-based this day. Now, if you notice, it's back to back. Okay, it's sort of back to back. But our hope is because it's 2 rooms, we can switch back and forth. So what we will do is we'll sort of give a 5-minute time, but the session looks back to back, but we have told the speakers that before 5 minutes, sort of they should end. So you got to decide therefore which ones you're going to do. So after tea break, which is after 10:30, there are 3 sessions starting. Okay, the first one is called Being Lean and Continuous Improvement. So Gautam is going to do that. What is this, Gautam? Why should we come to your session? Can you do a pitch on why should we come to your session?
I'll just take a minute probably. So guys, we all know the difference between doing lean and being lean, right? So my talk is all about, from a coach, being a coach, my own experiences, and okay, I understand that being lean is probably the best way to help the teams and to help individuals. So I'll be talking about some of the techniques which me as a coach, I have learned, and how that has helped me coach teams better. So I'll be taking you through some of my own experience. I'll be taking you some of the different techniques which we all can use, to help teams be lean, and also how that in turn leads to Kaizen, which is continuous improvement. So it's purely all, with real life examples, with actual, techniques which you guys can probably take away after this conference and start using it with your teams. So that's pretty much what I'm planning to.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Gautam. So they should come to your session. Okay. Okay. And then same time, 10:32. So mark down if you want to go here. At that time, there is another talk by Siddharth Govindraj. Sid, are you here? Not yet. Is Sid here yet? No. Okay, so I can sort of say, because I know what he does, this guy can do magic, so I know Gautam also does magic, but Sid is a sort of a lean thinking guy. He has a startup he deals with and I and he go back many years in the agile community and lean community. So his talk is called Slowing Down to Speed Up. Okay, the word says it all. So it's really about, go there, so it's about, last year he spoke about why the product backlog is dead, the whole idea of visual, like a Excel sheet based product backlog is dead. So if you're interested in that, you should probably choose to go to Sid's. At the same time, there's upstairs, 5th floor, there is something called a deep dive session. It is called Be Agile or Do Agile. Okay, so this is going to be facilitated by Praveen. Okay, Praveen, what is this?
So I've been sitting at this table yesterday, table number 2, So I've had some wonderful, passionate talks. I won't say arguments, passionate talks. So all of this is, someone said, if you have to do agile, you have to be agile. Or if you do agile, you will become agile. So I want to extend this talk and make sure we get out of that room knowing if you're doing agile or being agile.
So is there a WIP limit to your class? Looks like there's a work in progress limit, right? How many people can sign up?
We'll try to squeeze everyone and shut the door.
Okay. So it's okay to be there? Okay, so if you are going to that session, or if you tell others, you have to go on the lift, hit 5th floor, get out, turn right. It looks like you're going to check into a room. It's okay, just keep walking till you hit the end of the door. On the left, there's something called executive lounge. You will see a sign that says there. And if you don't find it, we can help you. Antara can help you, or Shailu can help you. Ask them. Okay. So in that session, the only ask is once you go in, you can come out, but you cannot go in again. Or you can go to restroom and stuff like that. But because people have deep discussions, you don't want to keep walking in and out. So if you're going to go there, let Praveen know, and then so he's prepared for you, and then take some sticky notes and thinking hat there. Okay. Hopefully you guys will produce something useful output of that. So we look forward to hearing what did you guys do for 2.5 hours in that room, right? So afternoon, before we finish or sometime in the day, I'm going to ask for those people to give an update. So please come prepared with a flip chart or something that's a summary of what happened there. Okay. So then there is a second line, 11:15 a.m. On track 1. So this is going to be track 1. Yeah. And this is going to be track 2, so we'll shut it off. And there's a number outside if you forget, but it's only 2 tracks, we'll be fine. So then we have something called lean transformation by changing default feature by Eben. It's awesome. It's funny, so you want to laugh, right?
Yeah, I didn't know that he's going to ask me to sell it, right? So today my discussion is more about. Yesterday we were talking about changes, sustaining change, culture change, mindset change, right? So this is about a small technique which I use called default future. It's one way of looking at how changes are sustained, how are we connected to the changes. And my hypothesis is that we are emotionally connected to a change. Unless we emotionally connected to a change, we will resist, right? So we are trying to see some easy technique which anybody can use in your personal life as well as in your transformation, in your organization. You can work with your family members, which can alter your default future. So you can come and understand what is the default future there. Thank you.
Sounds interesting, and he's funny. So if you want to laugh a bit, you may want to end up there. So the next topic on the same time, 11:15 to 12 p.m. Is by Pujar Prakash. So he's from Honeywell. I don't think he's here yet. But I can tell you that I was pleasantly shocked. I was blown away, not even surprised, when I visited them a few years back by their lean implementation. Because they have some of the most. So it's okay to have visual boards. Many companies have visual boards. How many people here have visual boards at work? Like task boards, right? Not the to-do in progress done that anybody can have. More information radiators. The other problem is many of us have these, but nobody uses them. Isn't it true? We'll say, we'll rather use the Rally or some lean kit or something like that, but we don't really use them. Now, the beauty of, I don't think Pujar comes from that group, but the beauty of that entire floor is they use those boards like nobody's business, right? So they come in the morning, every team has a A4 sheet thing outside. They have a lean board which has all the improvements they're doing. The management does like a Kaizen around 12 in the afternoon. It's beautiful. So you can see the entire organization working like that, and they don't use Scrum or Agile or anything like that. They're a lean shop. Okay. So this one I think is more of a lean Scrum adaptation, but I think because he comes from Honeywell, I'm assuming there'll be a little bit more on the lean side, but they had some good implementations of lean there. Okay. So that's a sort of how they implemented it. So then post that, 12 p.m., noon, lunchtime, Vijay, who's here, is going to do an experience report of Lean and Kanban implementation. Okay. And I have been fortunate enough to be involved with them sort of on the journey. At least I know a little bit about what they've done, but he's probably more qualified to speak about it. So Vijay, why should they come to your session?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Vijay. I'm working with IV Comtech, Hyderabad-based company, and we are currently undergoing agile transformation in which we have both Scrum as well as Lean implementation. So my discussion is going to concentrate more on how did we implement, what is the approach for the agile transformation, and how did we implement Lean principles and Kanban usage, and what the initial challenges we have faced, and how did we overcome that, and these are the things you can get out from that. Thank you.
I can tell you they have done some awesome stuff. I have seen it, so you should probably be there. You know, some of you have heard about Spotify and all of that, right? So Spotify case studies. Have you even heard about the Spotify case study? So you'll have not the same story, but I'm sure he's going to talk a lot about similar things. And they are probably a very successful implementation of lean and agile thinking. Okay. Then at the same track, if you want to meet a geek of the day, right? This guy can code in his sleep. That's Lance Kind. He's not here, but you'll probably find him easy because he's 6 and he's maybe like Jim, you know, tall. He can hit his head really fast, you know. So Lance, you can't miss him. I'm sure he'll walk in like, you know, you can find him. So where's Lance? He's in the coffee shop. Okay, well, we can't do much about it. Can you go get him? You know, if he's free, yeah, only then. So Lance is, he likes to travel the world. I know he probably do a better introduction to himself. He travels the world. So the last year he worked in China, you know, and then he went to Hong Kong, and then he's in the US, and now he's been living in India. But he likes one thing for sure is coding, right? And so you can give him a keyboard, and he's the happiest person in the world, right? And his talk is on. So there's a lot of talk in the industry about continuous delivery. Okay. It's different from continuous deployment, it's continuous delivery. So to do that, you got to involve, so it's not just about doing CI. Many people think of continuous delivery as got CI and some branch strategy and that's it, you know. Well, that's not true. There's a lot of lean influence on that. And so he's going to talk through applying lean principles to move your project to continuous delivery, right? So many organizations are not yet ready for this, but you know, I think I don't know much about, I've seen his talk, but he's a developer geek. So if you want to talk to him about anything in technology, ask him to show you test-driven development, anything. This is the awesome day, pick it up, take him somewhere. He's always happy to chat, okay? He's always happy to talk. So he's a fun guy. And he lives in Bangalore, so if you miss him, you can always say, hey, can you come and talk to me again? And he'll come back, right? So that's Lance Kind. I know him for 7 or 8 years now. And he is I don't know, I have not to promote him like that, right? But he's not here. But he writes a book called Scrum Noir. You know, it's a cartoon of Scrum. And then now he wrote a book called Agile Noir, which is like there's a project manager who finds, a product person. This is a fun cartoons that he's been doing. And he's going to give away some of those things here, and it's sort of fun to see how you can implement. He's a book writer, fiction book writer, so you can see how you can use some of those techniques. It's not in this talk, but I'm sure he will talk to you about that. Okay, so that's the Lance Kind. So then we have lunch. Lunch is going to be the same. We're going to try to speed up the line system. Yesterday there was a long line here. Working hard because a lean conference should not have a line. You know, so I don't know how to fix that, but the hotel people is under fire, so we'll fix something there. You know, so then at 1:45. We have Balaji here, right? So before that, I want to go through the sequence, right? Track 1, which will be here, is going to be a panel discussion, okay? And we have 3 of folks who will be in the panel in this room. There's going to be Gopal, okay? So Gopal has been a friend of mine and a leading person in the Bangalore city. So Gopal, where do you come from? Any background about you?
I work for Alcatel-Lucent, and I have architected the entire lean and agile revolution for Alcatel-Lucent in India.
And I learn a lot from him, so you guys are fortunate to have him in the crowd today. So Gopal, and then we have going to have Vikram in the audience. So Vikram, who are you and how?
I'm Vikram. That's pretty much it. We are doing agile transformation for past 1 year, so I will share experiences from that.
He works for a large, where do you work? Can you share that? You cannot share. Yeah, he works for Cisco, right? And so a big initiative. So these are practicing people. So it's not like, they are just saying because they feel like it. They've gone through the journey. And then Jim will be on the panel. And we have one more person coming. whose name is Arvind, and Arvind is the chief agilist at Societe Generale. Right? So it's a French-based bank. He will be there by that time. So those 4 people will be facilitated by a guy called JP, and then we will have somebody from a Solutions IQ coaching community, mostly Gautam, on the panel, and he just found out, I think. That'll be an interesting discussion. So what we're going to talk about there is this agile thing. Really, like we always hear this thing called transformation. Everybody's talking transformation these days, right? It's as if like there's this magic out there, you know, and you just throw this little thing there, and why should we transform ourselves? We are a company, we are doing what's the best we are doing, so this is around that topic, okay? Now it has, half will be structured questions. JP, who's coming here, who's an awesome coach, is going to be facilitating it. Half will be your questions, okay? So I'll be the guy taking your questions, you'll have index cards, and you have to think through. I would encourage you to write those questions in index card and keep it one question in index card at that session, and we'll be pulling from that list also. So that's a panel discussion from that pretty strong group from there, okay? So that's 1:45 to 2:30. Then we have Balaji here from Execution Excellence with Kanban and Theory of Constraints. So what is? So Balaji, why should they come there?
Yeah, this is going to be an experience report that I'm going to share from a software support engagement, where we have done simple things which have evolved from the usage of Kanban and Theory of Constraints. And I'll be co-presenting this with Sirisha. So we have seen some significant improvements in cycle time and throughput, and it is this experience that we would want to share with you, specifically from a software maintenance and support perspective for managed service engagements. So that's no, nothing on Agile. But we might have used some Agile principles, but I don't think it was Agile.
Okay. Awesome. So that looks interesting. Balaji, who had spoken last year too, and we had good feedback. So then I have one more panelist who just came here, so I was looking for him. Who are you, Sunil? I know you're Sunil, but what do you do, Sunil?
Hi, sorry I'm late. My name is Sunil Panse. I work for a company called Symantec, known for its security and information management products. I work out of Pune. I manage engineering organization in Pune for a product called Clearwell, which is an e-discovery domain.
Thank you. So as I noticed, these are practitioners, leaders, will be in the panel. So you can ask pretty much anything that they'll be happy to share. So thank you, Sunil. Yeah. So then we have Saket Bansal, who's here. Awesome, there he is. I was worried, where is he? So Saket comes from Delhi. Is it where you come from, Saket? So building agile enterprise from productivity to profitability. So what is this? Why should they come?
Yeah, so my talk would be around how do we measure our improvements. A lot of time we keep thinking about velocity, cycle time through output. So in my presentation, I will try to take beyond it. We will focus towards profitability. So how do we know that we are profitable? Is decrease in a cycle time makes us profitable or may not? So that would be my talk around. More towards matrices and measuring how do we improve our profitability for an organization.
So Saket has flown from Delhi for this, so be nice to him, when he's here. That's Saket Bansal. So then I have my friend and mentor in the room, standing in the back, who I have learned a lot from, Dr. Mohan Chikmangalur. Right? And I call him Dr. Mohan Chikmangalur because he's one. And so he's going to talk. He's a lean startup guy, specialist in the industry. He works with startups in the community and large organizations. And so I'm fortunate to have him. So Mohan, why should they come to your session?
So my session is about visualizing product flow. Most of us deal with products, okay, and there are various types and styles of products that we cater to, and our customer base is different. So I basically talk a lot more detail about, queues, okay. One of the fundamental problem in products is we can't see it moving, right? So the flow is always missing. So my topic will concentrate on flow and how do we visualize it and what organizations need to do in order to understand flow.
Thank you. I must say this is a cool session because Mohan is practicing a lot of these. And this funny guy is coming here. Who is he? Lance guy, and we know him. So he's a walking geek, probably there's a laptop in his bag, keyboard is possibly there, knowing him. 2 laptops in there. So Lance, we gave a bit of introduction, but who are you?
Hi, I'm Lance Kind. I'm from the U.S. I've worked in Seattle worked for Solutions IQ a number of years there. And then the last 5 years I've spent in China doing independent consulting. So I can speak Chinese, kind of badly, but I can speak it, and English as well.
He's been nice. He's much more awesome. So we have a pretty strong crowd here. Mohan, where is he? He's here. Lance is here. All of these are awesome people here. So I also have Sirisha here, so who's going to be presenting with Balaji. So that's Sirisha, right? So then we have a session by Antara Pal Chaudhary and Praveen. So Antara, where are you? Come here. So Antara is going to be talking about something called joy at work. Okay, and so what is this session about, Antara, and what are you going to do?
So we're going to talk about joy at work, as Vibhu and the agenda says. It's going to be led by Praveen. Vibhu, you're being too kind. I'll just be setting the context, and that would be my role there. And that's about it. So joy at work. So what gives us joy at work? How is it different from happiness? And how are we tracking it, and how are you feeling good about it? And what are we doing with our teams? I mean, we know there are lots of team leads and managers sitting here. So what are we going to do? What are we doing? And are we doing enough for our teams to make them feel happy, joyous? So that's what we are going to do.
As you can see, she's the main presenter. She's just lying here. So it is fun session, and it's awesome. So if you want to get joy, how many people have joy at work? Raise your hand. You have fun? This is your last job. For me, this is my last job, Agile. I'm pretty sure of this. I'm pretty happy. I've been doing it for 14 years. Lean and Agile is all I'm going to retire with. I'm done, So that's how it should be, And I can pretty much say that guy may have more keyboard and laptop, but he's done too. Okay, so next session is by Krishnamurthy, large-scale program transformation using lean, practical insights, and implementing lean tenets. So Saket and Krishnamurthy session will be upstairs, so please mark it in track 3 upstairs. I know he's here, so yeah, here you go. Why should they come?
Customers are not happy with us. They keep complaining, I'm not happy. I'm not happy with the norms. Team says, we are doing our best. Why customers are not happy? There is a disconnect. That's what we see. We keep on seeing on the ground year on year. From there, using simple ideas, visualizing the flow, how a team invented out-of-box thinking and brought transformation to the program is what I'm going to cover using a practical ground study. Thank you.
So I know Krishna for a long time, so he comes from Hyderabad, so does Vijay here, so go to their sessions, it's fun. And there is the man I was talking earlier, his name is Sid, and I have given some sort of intro because you're not here. Who are you, Sid, and what are you going to talk? I have no idea, it just said slowing down to speed up. What does it mean?
Yeah, so my name is Siddharth, and I've been a coach for a few years, and I've been doing Agile for about 10 years now. So the topic is slowing down to speed up, and yesterday I was listening to all the things that came out of the Lean Coffee. And a lot of people said we need to do improvements, we need to do continuous improvement and all that stuff. But we also have deliveries. We don't have the time to do it. Hey, we can't stop for 2 sprints and do all these cool things because then no one's going to agree to it. Right? So there is a need to do those continuous improvements. And there is a need to slow down. But at the same time, it's politically a challenge. Well, but the good news is that there is a way to do it. There's a way to find that slack time and actually speed up without necessarily impacting the deliveries at all. And that's what my session is about.
I'm going to close pretty soon. I know it's time for Jim's talk coming here. So then, because the previous topic was called joy at work, hey, we thought one way to have joy at work, typically people go out to play games. They'll go to a golf club or a bar or something. It's like, why do we have to go out of the work to play game? Gaming is a great way for a team to learn, and that's now become pretty much the standard in the agile and lean and all these industries. Now let's play the lean game. So don't come there thinking we have planned a lean game there. If you know a lean game, we would like to play that with you, right? We have 3 games set up there, and so which is just a surprise thing. So if you're in, we're not going to say anything more than that. But if you know anything about fun games, you should be there and share your ideas. We can run as many sessions as you want there. As long as you have one audience member that you can attract, that person will be doing the game with them in one corner. And so it's not a big group activity or anything. It's a multi-activity, so you can learn from everybody. Okay. So that's in track 2 at 3:15. The last track is what I call as the open track yesterday, remember? I know unfortunately they did an event yesterday, they pulled it down. But I know if folks are interested, so this is for anyone in the audience who wants to run a session. If you're interested, let me know. I know those 3 topics I have, but if out of those 3 or 4, we may pick some. So I would like to know before lunch from you, meet me somewhere and say, here is why I would do, and then we can publish it, and then we can go from there. What is it, Anta? Oh, there he is. Awesome. So this is Pujar Prakash from Siemens, Honeywell. Siemens is the next topic. My mind isn't that, right? So Pujar, what is this about? Can you share your session?
Hi, my session is about agile practices. So in our organization, it's close to 2 years. We have adopted the agile practices, and then we made that further lean by adopting some of the agile practices out. So it's a combination of both lean as well as agile. How we made our process more lean by adopting agile practices. So it's about that.
So this is the one at 11:15 in track 2. Okay. Then there's going to be Meghna. She's going to come in the afternoon because she had a commitment in the morning. She comes from Siemens Automation, and this track has nothing to do with Agile or Scrum or anything like that. So this group went through absolute big implementation of lean thinking, and I have not heard her before, but I'm curious to see what she has to say. So 3:15 in track 1 is her case, is her experience report of how Siemens Automation did this. Okay. So that's it. So with that, then last session, you guys have no choice. So what we are thinking is to wrap up with some sort of a personal lean the last session is called Lean Leadership Workshop. So that's a learning. So we have come and spent 2 days here. We should not leave here without any action items for each one of us. Personal workshop. So this is not something like a theory that we're going to share with you. This is a sequence. So I will be doing this with Gautam, and we are just facilitating. We're not presenting anything. But we would like each one to walk with a paper with actual action items that you have listed that you walk out from. So we're going to be facilitating it with some series of props and stuff. Hopefully it was useful and you can share your ideas. So that'll be wrapping up with something that we actually is thinking it's useful to us. Okay. And then we have some Scrum Noir books to give away. These are the, this is fun stuff. Yeah, in the end session we'll give it away, right? And it happened in Lance's session is what I'm hearing. So if you want those books, go to Lance's session, and then there is closure at 5:15. Okay, hopefully you'll have fun. So at that time we'll come here and we'll do a quick debrief and walk from here. Fun. Awesome. So I'm going to get these guys close for an awesome shot. So we'll get them close for a picture, and let's give them a nice round of applause. So energize them for today. You guys. And looks like a good group. Awesome group here. So, Jim, come on. Tony, back. Get it? Okay. Thanks, guys. So hopefully we have taken a picture. If you don't do a good job, this picture will not be given to you. Right? So I know you guys are rocking. So thank you. So with that, I'm going to give it back to Jim for the keynote of the day. Thank you.
So my slides are behind my head, which means I'm going to turn my back to you a lot. Was everybody here yesterday? Yeah. All right. So yesterday I talked a lot about a lot of things. And so that meant that this morning I had to wake up early and take a lot of those things out of this talk and replace them with new things that we all talked about as well. And what has struck me over the years in implementing Lean is that there's a thread that runs through it that was present when we were talking about what was going to happen today at the sessions. So there's a balance between doing work better and living life better. And we want to bring joy into our work because previously what we did was we worked really hard and we said, I will have joy when I go home. And after a while we got kind of sick of that, and so we didn't want to do that anymore. And one of the things that brought us the most pain was the poor communication that we've had about what's happening, who's doing it, how that's happening, and why. So basically, work. We're really lousy at talking about work while we're at work. And so we think of work as still a manufacturing model, where I get up in the morning and I go to your factory, which houses all of your equipment, that if I break, you are going to beat me senseless for, and then I do exactly what you tell me to with your equipment all day long. And then when I'm thoroughly bored, I go home, and that's my whole life. But that's not how we work. That's not how software development works, because we go to work and the thing that we work with is our brains, and the brains are ours. So now all of a sudden, the people that own the companies have to deal with us being the temperamental equipment. And part of the major input for us is we need to know what's going on, what we're building, and why we're building it in order to build it well. So today I'm going to talk about how our work is a story. Let me turn that on first. And that this is the secret of project management, but it's also the secret of living better. And so now I have to turn my back on everybody because this is a really long quote because Jiddu never said anything succinctly, ever. But basically what he's saying here is that if we're thinking about our lives, we have to take into account that everything we learn, everything we touch, everything we take in is part of us, is part of our lives, and as we code, it's part of our code. And we have to be able to enjoy life in order to understand it and do good work. And I have a picture of him young here because our lives are also the course of a story. So when we think of Krishnamurti, we think of him like that, wise old man who says wise old man things. But he actually wrote most of his stuff when he looked like us. We can be wise. We don't have to wait until we are overly gray in order to actually think and do and plan things. So there's only one key to a successful project, and that's to actually pay attention to it. And when we follow project management tools or methods or recommendations from people who aren't us, we stop paying attention. We just start doing what they tell us to do. So our processes are very much a product of us. And if you're doing straight up Scrum and you think I am a good Scrum team and I am doing straight up Scrum and all of my success is because I am doing straight up Scrum, and 2 people on your team leave, and they're replaced by 2 other people, do you still keep doing Scrum the same way? No. Our processes are directly related to us. How we work is our culture. Our processes and our culture are one. And if we keep bifurcating them, if we keep pulling them apart, then we pull apart our ability to work. So everyone has a story. And I have a story that I told you yesterday. I built big things like light rail systems and freeways and cities. I got tired of that and decided I wanted to go off and do some stuff with software. So I built really awesome software products, both desktop and enterprise and web-based. And then I got crazy and helped develop the Kanban thing and single-handedly changed the way software is developed worldwide. And this is great. This makes me look really awesome because I am awesome worker guy, but I'm actually a human being. right? So there's me, I'm like 1 year old there, you know, I'm like really, really tiny. And I love to eat, and I travel around with my business partner, Tony Ann. And we experience the world together. We eat a lot of food together, and we gather up the stories and the experiences of everyone we touch, and that makes us smarter, and hopefully we help other people by returning the favor. And you know, there's a picture of me kind of growing, so you can see like I don't really look much like me, and now I'm looking a little bit more like me, and you know, the story of me is complete. But the story of me that everybody would talk about is this part of the story, the professional part of the story, but that's only part of me. So to take this back to a full-on software context, if I am sitting in the United States, kind of like this, and I can't see you, and you can't see me, and I type up a functional spec for software that I want you poor people to build for me, and then I put it in an email and I ship it off, how much context does that give for anybody? We don't know what's being built, really. We know what your description of something you think might be a good idea is, but we don't have a story. We have basically a story in that if we took a list of characters from a book, that's what we have. But we don't have we don't have a real project. So what is a real project? So projects aren't manifestos. They're not specific tools. And they're not functional requirements. These might be elements of our work stories, but they're not stories. But they are ideas that we want to make real. And we want to make it as a group. We can't blast the story up into tiny bits and have little people who don't speak to each other make those bits. So you can imagine if you were planning a movie and you said, okay, well, first in the movie the character is going to be born, and then the character is going to go to university, and then the character is going to meet a woman, and then the character is going to this, and then that, and then you give all of those pieces to all of those units of customer value to completely different people who don't talk to each other, you're going to end up with a pretty stupid movie. So projects are conversations. Projects are the things that happen between those functional requirements. They're not the functional requirements themselves, and they're evolving. We start working on some things, we say, oh, that didn't work very well. Okay, oh, that worked better. Okay, oh, that's ugly. And as that evolves, we learn more about what we're building, more about what the customer wants, and all that good stuff. So we don't know the results of these evolving experiments until we run them. So I'm sitting back here again, I send you off spec, you send me crazy things back, and I say, Indians are crazy, they can't build software. That's the relationship that we have when you can't actually see and talk to and share the results of your work with other people. So years ago, my old business partner, William Rowden, who now is actually part of the Solutions IQ Borg, he and I had a project that actually it wasn't a project yet. So he and I had a client, and they were the largest traffic signal manufacturer in North America. And they were hosting an event, and William and I were at the event, and all night long they had been giving us bottles of wine. Wine, 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 more wine, and after a while, Tony Ann will tell you, it doesn't take long for me to say inappropriate things, but we were long past that point. And so I made the statement that all advanced traffic management systems on the market were garbage. And so our client said, well, gosh, Jim, our two biggest products are advanced traffic management systems. Are you saying our products are garbage? And I said, yes, I'm afraid they are. And the reason was because this was 2005. None of the algorithms, basically none of the software itself had really been updated since the 80s. They had put different interfaces on it, and they'd painted pretty pictures over them, but basically it was the same algorithms, the same everything, and it wasn't collaborative, it wasn't a good system. So then they came back, we left the thing, and William said, boy, I sure hope we still have a client. And the next day they called and they said, can you come down and visit us, we want to talk to you. And that sounded kind of ominous. So we went down thinking they were going to take all the work away, and they said, you know that thing you were saying, can you build that? Because what I said was I wanted the system to be collaborative, I wanted it to be multi-jurisdictional. So if you had many, many cities next to each other, like cities in all of the suburbs in the US, what happened before is you'd have a city and it would have its own management system, and then a suburb would have its own management system, and this suburb would have its own management system, and those management systems weren't coordinated, so they'd work at cross purposes with each other. And so I said, wouldn't it be nice if we actually had these that would actually talk to each other, and then that way, when this road reached the end of this city and got to this city, you didn't think it was a different thing, because it's still the same road. It needed to be GIS based, and there was a laundry list of complaints that I had. And they said, can you give us a spec? And we said, no, we cannot give you a spec. But what we can do is we've been experimenting with this thing called a Kanban. We're going to set up a Kanban online. So as far as I know, we did the first online Kanban, which we did in Groove 2.0. We dragged cells from or information from cell to cell in a spreadsheet and that. But we made the client come to every one of our stand-up meetings, and the client was involved in every decision that we made. We checked in our code every 10 minutes. You could do a build every 10 minutes of what the most recent thing was. This was enterprise level software that we were doing continuous release for in 2005. So when people whine and say, we can't do continuous release, that's for the web, I'm like, yeah, that's nice. But what we did was we had we involved the client in the evolving story. So we had no budget, we had no spec, we didn't even actually have a contract. We just had an agreement that we had a monthly burn rate, and every decision that we made, we would make together. So the story itself, the evolving experiments were shared. And when we found plot points, when something crazy happened, the client knew exactly why the moment that it happened. So our projects are stories. And yesterday we did the Kaizen camp, and we've done Kaizen camps everywhere now, kind of seems like. But last year, or I guess about 18 months ago, we did one in Saigon, in Ho Chi Minh City. And everyone that came, well, not everyone, almost everyone in the room that came was under the age of 30. Incredibly young demographic. And all they were interested in is, I'm making more money than anybody in my family has ever made in the history of my family, and I'm miserable because I can't spend time with my family anymore. So all of the topics at the Kaizen camp were how do we balance the amazing work that we're doing and the opportunities that we've been given with the lifestyle we'd actually like to lead. I mentioned this yesterday. We had a client where the client called us in. We went in initially and worked with them, and we got their team set up with Kanban. And then a couple of years go by, and they call up and they say, something horrible has happened. You have to come in and check this out. So we go in, and we start looking at the teams, and there's a board, and there's a board, and there's a board, and there's a board, and there's a board. At 15 different teams with completely different looking boards, different value streams, different ways to measure value, different ways to communicate with their customers. And this is in a financial services firm. When we got to the end, and we're just elated. This was just the most beautiful thing a Kanban geek could ever look at. So what is it that's the problem? And they said, we need to standardize. We need everyone to have the same kind of board. Like, why? Because then when we go, we'll know exactly what each board is saying. It's like, oh, you think that the board is just for you. But each one of these boards, each one of these beautiful, crazy, fairly arbitrary seeming boards have extremely different ways of visualizing work because the story that each team is evolving is different. They have a different project, they have different types of customers, they have different products, They have different delivery schedules. They have different tolerances for defects. And that is reflected in the kind of boards that they created. So this one here, there it is, whoops, go back. This one here is for architects. And so this is their doing column. This huge crazy thing is their doing column. And they have the time that it's going to take to complete the project and the amount of effort that they're putting in. And the different colors are the different architects, because they knew that they always had to track every project that they were keeping an eye on, and that they couldn't limit their WIP in the way that everybody else was in a simple column. So they created a very innovative board. It had its own issues, but they created a very innovative board to measure what they needed to measure and to visualize the story of their work in a way that was helpful. So I have to get a pen now. Every story, oops, I have to make sure that when I move every story has a story arc, and every Kanban has a value stream. So here is our simple value stream we drew up yesterday, our WIP limit. And here are some things that we'd like to get done. So years ago, we had a project with NBC Universal in the States. And they had 3 teams that we were working with. And these teams were in the sexiest places possible. So one team was at Universal Studios in Los Angeles. The other one was at 30 Rockefeller Center in New York. And then the third one was in Chennai, in like this beautiful building in Chennai. And the people in New York hated the people in Los Angeles. And the people in Los Angeles hated the people in New York. But they could agree on one thing, and that was that they really hated the people in Chennai. And it was a wonderful project to work on. So we'd have conference calls, and you get in, and it'd be like this. Is this on? Is someone from New York there? Yes, we're here. How about someone from Los Angeles? Yes, we're here. So no one would talk unless they were specifically ordered to speak, because they were all so angry. We got them together for a couple of face-to-face meetings, because that's what you're supposed to do when you want all of the distributed teams to be happy. And they would get together, and all of the LA people would sit here, and all of the New York people would sit here, and all of the Chennai people would sit back there. And then these 2 guys that no one liked would sit all the way back there. And it was awful. And so we put up what had to have been the stupidest shared Kanban in history. And so this was in New York, 30 Rockefeller Plaza. There was a huge wall. And we took 3 HD TV cameras and aimed them at the wall. And on 11 by 17 or A3 paper, we put all of the user stories that people were working on, and then they would flow through that. So if you were in Chennai and you finished something, you'd call someone in New York and say, "Can you move my piece of paper?" It was terrible. But we noticed a weird thing. The board had been up for a couple of weeks, and we got into a call, and somebody was already talking. And we're like, "Oh, that's nice." And then it happened again. And then it happened again. And then all of a sudden we call, and they'd be saying things like, "The next time we're together, we have to go out to eat," or "That was funny," or something like that. And we noticed that there was an extreme change in the culture of the people in the call. And so we went back and to Seattle, to our offices in Seattle, and we're sitting around the office going, "What happened?" Because that doesn't seem arbitrary. It doesn't seem random. Something really happened there. And so we talked to some educational psychologists, and what they told us was, "No, this isn't arbitrary at all. You have built a system to promote that behavior." And so what's happened here is this very familiar workflow is actually a story arc. So this is birth, this is life, and this is resolution. So if this was a Bollywood film, this would be boy and girl meet, and this is parents object, and all sorts of songs happen and craziness, and then everything works out at the end, right? So that's it's every story humans have ever told. And what happened was we went from everybody saying, you know, without visualization, your work looks like this. So you don't know what anybody else is working on. And then you start to distrust that people are getting things done. And when things that you think are simple aren't completed by others, you get angry because you think it's simple. Well, maybe you're wrong. So there is a cognitive bias that says essentially this: no one understands how complicated my work is, and they should, because all their work is so easy. So we tend to overvalue the complexity of our own work, and we tend to undervalue the complexity of work that we give others. Can you see what a danger that is if you are an offshore team that is taking work product in from somebody who can't see you? Is they write things down, say, it's simple, and they give it to you. And then it's not simple, it's not communicated well, it's not as simple as they thought it was going to be to begin with, and there's conversations that need to happen. The story needs to be told. So putting up the board, what happened was we have this story arc, and we have these kind of plot points, and then we have things that flow through the story. And not only does this mean that now we're better informed about what we're doing, what we finished, and what's coming up, but we have more context about what is tripping other people up. Why are they tripped up? This is coming. We all need to feel a little bit nervous because we know that the last time we saw something like that, it was not so good. We know that we have a release coming up. You know, there's a lot of information that flows through this board, and it's very, very difficult to think. When you first look at the board, it looks really simple. It's like, okay, yeah, it's a bunch of Post-it notes and it's some lines. But what this actually is it's a visual manifestation of all of the stuff that we're doing. And if all the stuff we were doing was simple, we wouldn't be having this conference. Because it would just happen. We just plug things into the software machine and code would come out. So this guy, Gilbert Ryle, said, you know, that we shouldn't allow ourselves to become machines by taking ourselves out of the machine that we're part of. So all of us are part of this code generating machine. And the moment that we give up our ability to create process to an external canned process, we lose our humanity and we become slaves to that process, right? And whatever you want to call that process, I don't care what process it is. In Agile, we say inspect and adapt. In Lean, we have the plan, do, study, act loop. In both Lean and Agile, the foundation is look at what's happening, pay attention, understand the story, and correct it if it's going off track. So I also gave you a baby Einstein because we all think that Einstein had all of his thoughts when he had crazy hair and stuck his tongue out and rode bicycles. But he says here, everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler. So yesterday when I talked about personal Kanban, and it had 2 rules of visualize your work and limit your work in process. And I talked about reactance, which is when I give you a rule, you try and figure out basically how to ignore it. Every system we set up to build software, we should try and make it as simple as possible. And if it breaks in some way, we can always add a rule. But there's a funny thing in life. We can add rules, but we can't take them away. And that's really important. So this is kind of the classic systems thinking slide, the Da Vinci. So basically, learn how to realize everything connects everything. So when we're building software, it's not just our integration problems aren't necessarily with this piece integrating with this piece. It's with this team integrating with this team and this person integrating with this person. There's a lot of communication going on there that causes those breakdowns. So when we get up to mid-air collisions and breakdowns in the system when we're doing complex integration, and we tend to think that that's a technological problem, it's quite often actually a cultural or interpersonal issue. Okay, and then that's me. I'm cooking there, so Tony Ann and I did an event at one conference called Lean Action Kitchen, where we did a set 5-course meal for everybody that came, and then with each part of the meal came a different lean lesson. But as I've said several times the last couple of days, our work is unique, and our processes to create our work should likewise be unique. I'm just going for the whole quote thing here. So I'm just going to pound this into the ground. We are born, and then we tend to shut off our brains and not think about why we're actually here. And so a lot of us only get one of these two important days. You get the I'm born day, and you get the why am I here day, and a lot of people skip right by the why am I here day. If we're going to build good code, we need to know why we're building that good code. And then the last one here is that once you make that decision to understand who you are, then you actually become who you are. Then you can write good code. So it seems that Lance over here has figured out who he is, because he has figured out that he wants to see the world, he wants to experience the world, and he wants to code. You know, Tony Ann and I, we balance or try to balance our travel with being at home, and we don't do a very good job of it. But that's our someone. We want to help people build the best products they can, and we want us to be the best people in the process of doing that. So we have one ultimate truth here, which is that we are our process. So what happened was when this team saw what they were doing, you know, this had like coding, testing, integration, release in the doing column. But when this team globally saw what they were doing, they became the whole process. Before, like I said yesterday, they were just the task they were working on right now. And if you're a task, that's very dehumanizing. So, you know, if you're a sculptor and you have a big piece of marble and you're going to start to sculpt, your job isn't chip. You know, your job is to see what's underneath and to make that come out of the marble. So we want to tell the story of our work. And like I said yesterday, we want to move from a position of being overworked, where our minds are full, to a period where we have the right amount of work to where we can be more mindful. So, as we mentioned yesterday, we're limiting our work in process, not necessarily to give us slack, because slack is kind of a scary word for people. Slack also kind of means laziness. So in manufacturing, slack's an okay word because you have pulleys and belts, and if you tighten the belts too much, they will snap. But slack for human beings is just kind of like, yeah, dude. And so managers, of course, don't particularly want, you know, the coffee break slack, but they should be able to grasp the actual systemic slack of being able to, you know, not over-tighten things. And so we want to use this to show them that we have a capacity, or to show ourselves that we have a capacity, and then not to exceed that capacity. And if we don't do that, what happens to our story? I know you're out there. If we don't limit our wit, what happens to our story? Yeah, it stops. Stories that stop aren't very exciting. We want a movie, we want a play, we want a book to have a storyline that actually moves forward. And you can have bad things and good things happen in it. That's what makes suspense and things exciting. But you don't want it to stop. So if you're watching a movie and then all of a sudden the screen goes blank for 25 minutes, and then it comes back and then you get a little note from the director at the end saying, did you like the slack I built into your movie? You're probably not going to care for that too much. So we want to visualize our systems coherently. We want to see everything. We want to see it all of the ugly, all of the beauty, all of the happiness, all of the pain, so that we can increase the level of happiness and decrease the level of pain. I honestly don't think that that's a very radical notion. We want to have these shared stories, and we want to be able to have social visualizations of those, shared visualizations of those. And then lastly, we want to be able to have the guts to learn. So we have something here where we have a couple things in our value stream, and we see that there's a bottleneck, which is causing work starvation after the bottleneck, and overproduction before the bottleneck. We want to be able to see it, recognize it, be honest about it, and fix it as quickly as possible in whatever way we need to fix it. So in the end here, we come back to the Krishnamurti slide. We want to build a holistic system, and we need to understand that we, our experiences, our families, our likes and our dislikes are actually part and parcel of that production system. So I ask everybody to believe nothing and to share everything. And that's it. And I will tell you that it's ridiculously rare for me to finish in the amount of time I'm given. How are we doing for time, actually? Okay, are there questions? Anybody want to talk about anything? Yes.